Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of March 24th through the 30th of 2025. All right, so this week we are essentially starting a fresh new lunar cycle with a partial solar eclipse, which will be on Saturday in watery Pisces, of course, where we've had a lot of this more spiritual, inwards, more soul-fulfilling life emphasis as of late with all these planets in Pisces. So the current lunar month will end as we approach Saturday. It's good to let those energies die down and really complete things from this previous month. But around Saturday, starting to notice what are the new perspectives, what are the new insights, and slowly building momentum from what will be the lowest energy of the lunar cycle to slowly building new energy into the new month. So with this, of course, as you might guess, a lot of the activity is still in Pisces. We've got Mercury still retrograde, Venus still retrograde in this watery constellation. Water is symbolic for the soul. It's symbolic for the inner life, the spiritual, the intuitive, the imaginative, having more peace and spiritual and mental health in our life. And so that's definitely the theme, not only with the eclipse, but really with practically all the other energy as well. Mercury retrograde here, still good to be flexible with especially our day-to-day activities and communications, with Venus in terms of how we're connecting, what we're valuing, and what we're enjoying. So there's still a lot to be discovered this week with those retrogrades. These planets will be passing over Neptune once again, and so Neptune being very similar to that Pisces, definitely some new beginnings happening in this etheric world. And Mars squaring Chiron this week, so we'll talk about that, maybe some healing, and this dates back all the way to the 13th of October. So anything that started around mid-October in the context of healing can also be finalized this week as well. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. Alrighty, so here is the sky for this week. We're going to look at this for each day of the week, starting first with Monday, March 24th. And as you can see here, we are using the visible sky on this channel. So if you are new to what we call true Sidereal Astrology, definitely check out the link down below for more information. If you're used to Western astrology, tropical astrology, mainstream astrology, the signs are different when we use the visible sky. So definitely check the link down below if you are new. But let's go ahead and do a recap here in terms of what we've got going on. I mean, this recap is also really just a synopsis of the week as well. We don't have any major sign changes. These planets in Pisces are staying in Pisces, and Mars is still finishing his transit of Gemini as well, where he went direct and still needs to go through his shadow of where he was retrograde. So he was retrograde around the cusp of the new year, late last year, early this year. And now he's finishing recouping that stuff. So in this context, we're definitely dealing with this watery world of Pisces. We've got that Mercury and Venus still retrograde, like I was saying. So the first thing here is that on Monday, Mercury will be passing over the sun, marking the halfway point of the Mercury retrograde cycle. We had Venus do something similar last week in terms of that was her halfway point, and they're going to go direct roughly around the same time here next week. And so this is the halfway point now for Mercury. This means that it's really good to sort of reflect on the past week and a half in the context of what have you been rethinking lately? What have you been maybe redoing? What have you been approaching differently? What can you now approach differently for the remainder of the cycle of the Mercury retrograde, I mean? And this will be, like I said, for the next week and a half. So give it that sense of flexibility still, but the second half of the retrograde does tend to be a lot easier. We're more acclimated to the energy. We're more used to it. And the second half deals more with implementation. Whereas the first half of the retrograde is much more about exploring, figuring things out. Again, just getting used to that adaptability, we can now start to apply that for the second half. So the halfway point, maybe on Monday, there's a new insight. It's usually more internal. We don't see Mercury in the sky right now. It's, he's drowned out by the sun. And so this is symbolic for being in the underworld, or in the underworld within ourselves. But there certainly can be new gleams of insights, new perspectives, new intuitions, what have you, even creative inspirations with the sun like this. But whatever it is, Monday's a good day to listen and see what shifts, if there is a shift of perspective or interest or insight. And this then can help us for the remainder of the cycle there. Now, typically with this, we consider this challenging because, again, Mercury's drowned out by the energy of the sun. And so this can make it sometimes a day or the surrounding days where we're not thinking as consciously. Maybe our thoughts, our communications are a little more unconscious. Maybe there's a little bit more passion and excitement that is sort of drowning out the more rational and practical energies of our mind, of Mercury. And so it is always good to just bring a little extra conscious awareness to the mind, to the communications, to the day-to-day activities, just to make sure that everything is getting filtered and, is appropriate and isn't anything that's just simply purely unconscious, right? We want to bring in that conscious mind as much as possible. And so as long as we're doing that, it's a great day for this. Again, there could be insights. There could also be very good for creativity, also very good for expressing ourselves. We just want to make sure we're very flexible there in that process. So that's definitely the most important thing here this early part of the week. We will have the moon shifting out of Sagittarius and into Capricorn. The moon will be in Capricorn both Monday and Tuesday and the early part of Wednesday. And this makes this first part of the week really good for things like discipline, responsibility, patience, perseverance, much like that Saturn energy for those of you that are familiar with that. That's going to be the sort of backdrop or the theme here these first few days, and just really good to work with things that way. On Tuesday, it's nice to see that Pluto is in good harmony to Mercury. In fact, Pluto is in very good harmony to all these planets, what I'm calling the gaggle of planets, or if you want to be technical, the stellium of planets that we have all here in Pisces right now. Pluto's in good harmony too, so it's nice to see that. So Tuesday we could have a little bit of support from deep Pluto with Mercury, with our minds, with our communication. So maybe a good day for research, uncovering deep things, maybe again some of those deeper communications as well, if we want to use it, since sextiles are more of what's available versus what we're forced into. Now, as we start to get into the Wednesday time, we're going to get to this apex of Mars squaring up to Chiron. So because of Mars's retrograde, this has been going on since the 13th of October. And this is now the final one. We had a middle one on February 3rd. So this, what is normally a 3-point contact, now at the final one, it's all about finalizing, implementing this idea of healing. So Mars is the planet of our assertive side, our desires, who we are, what we want. And Chiron is the healer comet. So this can bring up wounds around this stuff, confidence, assertiveness, proactivity. It can bring up, vulnerabilities, inhibitions, and things from the shadow as well. But being the last contact, we're usually, by this point, much more acclimated to the energy. Since February 3rd, we could say it's been more acclimated, but it's really about now finalizing and integrating it. So I would ask yourself to think back to October 13th, when this energy first started. Was there anything that started at that middle part of October that maybe dealt with healing in some capacity? It could be mental, spiritual, emotional, physical healing, and probably in the context of Mars, that more fiery side of ourselves. And if so, maybe there's some things this week to finalize with that, complete with that, and integrate. And in this way, we can start to feel quite rejuvenated, quite refreshed, quite healed and integrated as a result of this final contact. And we'll probably feel more of that as we ease up out of that square and go into the rest of the week there. But just a good day in surrounding days to challenge yourself with those kinds of healing. And it's all for the best, and it's a nice step in the right direction. Now, once we do get to this Thursday time period, again, the moon will be in Aquarius for this later middle part of the week. And this can place themes around individuality, connecting more to things greater than ourself, which can be the world, the future, our communities, Okay, we do have a little bit of that air, maybe social, very mental energy available to work with this sort of middle to later part of the week. And so along with this, on Thursday, Venus will be conjunct Neptune. Again, this is the second contact because she's retrograde. So Neptune is very much like Pisces, okay? When we're talking about connecting more with our soul, we're talking about more mental health and spiritual health. All of this being the major theme is definitely the case with Venus over Neptune on Thursday. So this will be a new beginning. Conjunctions are like new moons. They're new beginnings. And in this case with Venus, what we can be enjoying, what we can be valuing or seeing the value of in this, spiritual or etheric world, and also how we can connect to others in this more receptive way as well. So Thursday, a good day to, again, see the value of the etheric world, the soul, and those kinds of connections to life and others, and perhaps even setting some new intentions around this can be fantastic for the whole, what will be over a year here cycle between Venus and Neptune. So new beginnings, setting new intentions, being receptive to the energy. Again, this is going to be the ending phase of the lunar cycle as we then start to approach the partial solar eclipse, which will be on Friday. So that's going to be at 6:47 Eastern time of the Americas. It's not visible anywhere in the world. It's technically not an actual eclipse, but we call it an eclipse in astrology because it is the new moon closest to the nodes. And in this case, it is the north node that it is close to. So we talked about the lunar eclipse 2 weeks ago. That was in Virgo. We talked a lot about how to balance that doing and being, that work and rest, that physical life and etheric life between Virgo and Pisces. And now there's a beautiful new beginning with the Pisces, okay, with that more etheric world. And with the North Node being the planet involved with this, we can say here that it's definitely about initiating new things here. North Node eclipses really do require proactivity on our part. Now, Pisces is not the proactive sign. It's not about taking action or something like Aries is about. But we want to, with the North Node, take these sort of intentional actions towards more peace, towards more soul fulfillment. And we really do have to be proactive about it. So setting new intentions for this new lunar cycle. First, of course, just listening to the energy, seeing what comes up, but setting these intentions. And this can be a fantastic new month for that mental health and spiritual health, for anything that involves spirituality, intuitive, creative, imaginative, doing things that are more soul fulfilling for us in life, etc. And and it's a very simple eclipse in that there's no major aspects with it. There's, of course, partial conjunctions to these planets we've been talking about, and there's that sextile to Pluto, which is a minor aspect we've been talking. So a little bit of support there from the deeper world, and of course, a lot of support to be, again, reflective and learning and, flexible right now with a lot of these planets retrograde. And this is a lot when 2 out of the 3 personal planets are retrograde. Okay, it's definitely a retrograde time right now. All right, so that's the eclipse, seeing what sort of arises out of that. This will also be when Mercury's conjunct Neptune on Thursday. And so new beginnings with, again, intuitions, what's deeply important to us in life. It's really that our mind is in the etheric world, the unconscious, the spiritual dimensions. And so we can be working with this stuff practically. We can be not only connecting to our intuition and our imagination, but we can be working with it or talking about it or, doing things that are more practical with it. And of course, it's always good for times like this for doing these kinds of activities, especially with Mercury being that sort of day-to-day planet. We want to set these kinds of intentions. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's more art, maybe it's more peace, more presence, more sleep, more rest, psychology, etc. So great time for this. And the new beginning of the month is definitely around Saturday with both the solar eclipse and that Mercury-Neptune conjunction there. Okay, and of course the moon will be in Pisces the whole weekend. All right, everyone, so that is the week in a nutshell. Put very simply, we're ending the current lunar month this week. We want to finalize and complete things from the previous month as we approach Saturday. All right, as we approach Saturday, Of course, we still have a lot of reflection and flexibility to be had this entire week, and the early part of the week is no exception to this. There's definitely some things that come to light, I would say, collectively around Monday with Mercury over the sun, and any, sort of new intentions to be flexible, reflective, and redoing starting on Monday particularly can be really good for the remainder of that Mercury retrograde cycle. We've got a little bit of support with that deeper planet of Pluto, and what I would say that's a little different than just that Pisces energy, because everything else is very Piscean here. It's a little different to that is the Mars square Chiron. So as an overlay to everything we've talked about, allowing for some intentional healing and maybe facing some wounds in regards to action, assertiveness, proactivity, what we want. And by taking those actions, by challenging ourselves in that area, we can feel very healed and rejuvenated. And we're very likely to feel that as we come off of that into the solar eclipse and into the new lunar month. All right, so everyone, have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for the live stream. We go live every Sunday here, just a few hours after this upload at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Time of the Americas. Hope to see you all there, but have a great week, and I'll see you all next time for the next astrology forecast. Take care.